Let's talk about what I'd like you to know about interpreters. You built an interpreter, but do you know how it works? One way to analyze how an interpreter works is to ask which expressions are passed to scheme eval when evaluating a combination, that is, a compound expression. That really depends on what kind of expression is being evaluated. So, to evaluate, define x as the result of adding 1 and 2 together. What needs to be evaluated? The whole thing needs to be evaluated. And so the whole thing is passed to scheme eval. That's how evaluation begins for this expression. Then scheme eval looks at the sub-expression that comes first, notices that it's a special form define, and so we evaluate the whole thing using the special rules for define forms. Defining a symbol doesn't evaluate the symbol, which may not have a value yet at all, but does evaluate the expression after the symbol. And so the next thing that's passed to scheme eval is this other smaller combination consisting of plus 1, 2. This is not a special form. It's a regular call expression. And how call expressions get evaluated is that first, the operator's sub-expression is passed to scheme eval. What does that mean? That means we figure out what plus is bound to. By default, it's bound to the procedure that adds, but that could have been changed, so we need to look it up every time we try to add something together. We also need to call scheme eval on the numbers 1 and 2. Why is that? Well, that's just the process for evaluating any call expression. You evaluate the operands. These ones happen to be really simple, so we pass them into scheme eval, and scheme eval gives them right back to us because they're self-evaluating very simple atomic expressions. But if something more complicated had been here, like another combination doing some multiplication, that would need to get evaluated too. Once plus 1 and 2 are evaluated, then 1 and 2 are added together to get 3, which is then bound to the symbol x, and we're done. So for this very simple expression, we ended up calling scheme eval 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, next one. Even more complicated. Define form. Again, we have to pass the whole thing to scheme eval so that scheme eval can figure out that it's a special form. This time it discovers that it's a defined form that's creating a new procedure. And so what gets evaluated next? Nothing. When a new procedure is created, its body is not evaluated yet. F isn't evaluated because F might not exist. Y is just a placeholder for what will eventually get passed into F when it's called, but that doesn't get evaluated either. And here's the body that's just getting squirreled away within the procedure F and has yet to be called. So in fact, there's only one call to scheme eval when evaluating this large combination. And how about this large combination? Well, this is a call expression. So we go through the usual rules, evaluate the operator, and we find the procedure that we defined above. Then we evaluate the operand. You can't call F until you know what you're calling it on. And that means evaluating this expression. This is another special form. And so we have to know the evaluation rule for an if expression, which is that you evaluate the first sub-expression. In order to evaluate that, you have to evaluate the whole call, which means figuring out what greater than means, and what 3 means, and what 2 means, and then eventually you know that this is a true value. If doesn't evaluate both the consequent and the alternative, it picks just one of them according to the value of this predicate, and so we evaluate 4, but not 5. And are we done? Well, no. We have to call F on the number 4. And how is scheme eval involved in calling a procedure? Well, to call a user-defined procedure means to evaluate its body expressions in a new frame. And so we now have to evaluate plus xy, which means evaluating plus, evaluating x to get 3, evaluating y to get 4, and now we add 3 and 4 together to get 7. So each one of these blue dotted lines is a call to scheme eval. And if we wanted to list all of the stuff that was ever passed a scheme eval, now we know the whole set.